Honestly, size does matter, at least when it comes to a grow tent. And don't you let anyone convince you otherwise. Hello, hello. How are you? How have you been? So many things happened since we last saw each other. I mean, definitely not in my life. My life is boring, but in your life, right? Please tell me that something happened in your life and that you're doing something else except of growing plants. Don't be like me. Give me some hope, people. Okay, since we have all the theatrics out of the way, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that like button. Otherwise, I will have to make another bloody sacrifice, and it's really getting very messy there. That was a joke. You know, you as a viewer must proceed onward with a dark humor. As dark as the color of my new grow tent. That was an amazing segue. As the title of the video suggests, and as I just mentioned, I got myself a new grow tent, and oh boy, can I not wait to share it with you. First, let's get a formal thing out of the way. I did receive my growlight and grow tent for free, but I'm also free to share my honest opinion about them with you. So that's what we will be doing in the months to come. We will track the progress and growth of my plants, and we will see how it goes. I did a similar video last year, and I think it was around February of 2021, and I intended to keep that tent for much longer, but honestly I was very frustrated with the tent, and I also got root mealybugs, which at that time I did not know. I only found out about them when I took the plants out of the grow tent, and all in all it was just a very bad experience for me. I was very frustrated and I hated it. Was my judgment a bit clouded because of the frustration that I had to deal with root mealybugs for a couple of months? Perhaps. Nothing has been proven yet. I decided I won't use the grow tent anymore. I packed it and I put it away, and I used the light. I hung it up in my room so it can blind me every morning when the timers turn it on. However, several months later, my friends started to have more and more and more plants, which is no fault of mine. I mean, I did not get her hooked on plants, especially not Hoyas. All in all, I decided to pass on this tent that I didn't use to my friend because she was, and she still is, dealing with low humidity in her apartment, and at that time her plant collection was small enough to fit in the tent. I can't say the same thing now. What happened next quite surprised me. That sounds like a clickbait title for a news article. You see, I never really had that much success with my grow tent. And I will say one thing, it always appears to us that our plants are growing much slower than the same plant in someone else's condition, or at least that's how I feel about some of my plants, which may not necessarily be true. I do write off this slow growth to my very inconsistent watering, which we will not call underwatering, but it is that. And it also could be that my expectations maybe were not realistic. That being said, I was quite shocked when I checked in with my friend and I saw how much her plants grew, and to be quite honest, I perhaps, maybe for sure, definitely was envious of how her plants doubled in the tent, and she wasn't even using that light. But I mean, obviously all my plants are much better because they're mostly Hoyas. After seeing how much her plants grew, a little worm was planted inside of my brain, and I couldn't help but wonder, how does she do it? Should I get another grow tent? Also, are you team Sarah Jessica Parker or Kim Cattrall? It also didn't help that plant groups bombarded me, the innocent me, with all the photos and videos of grow tents that looked amazing, Hoya vines taking over, and it really did not take much for me to want to get another grow tent. Fast forward a couple of months and marshydro reached out to me and they wanted to send me a bigger tent and a better grow light. Not that there is anything wrong with the light that I have, but when you have a bigger grow tent, you will need a physically larger grow light as well for better coverage. So I started to poke around on their website to see what grow light and grow tent I can get, and I picked 120 by 120 centimeter grow tent, which is 4 by 4 feet for all of those who live in the United States, and I picked the FC3000 grow light. Did I realize how big this tent is going to be in my room? No. Did I actually measure before ordering how much space it will take up? Yes. But clearly my brain did not make the connection between those two. I was a bit taken aback when this grow tent arrived and my friend and I assembled it. I mean, I can walk into it, I can walk a bit in the tent. I can lay on the floor, admittedly in a fetal position, which probably means I can use it for some sort of therapy. Another benefit of this larger grow tent is that I can put 2 full-sized shelves in it. The tent I had before was 70 by 70 centimeters, which is 28 by 28 inches. And in that tent, I could only put small shelves that were not very deep. So not many plants could fit in there. I could only put small plants. And a lot of the time, the plants would just tip over because there were many of them. It was a small space. It was very difficult for me to use it. Now I can do it all. I can put full-sized shelves in there, I can put more plants, I can put bigger plants, I can put them in several rows without anything tipping over. And because I helped my friend rearrange her setup several times in that smaller grow tent, I have also came up with different ways to put more plants inside so that they don't take up so much space. For example, putting a wire shelf that hangs on the side of the tent. Also, another great thing about this size is I can freely maneuver. I can actually walk inside this tent to water my plants, to check my plants. I am a tall person, so I obviously could not walk in that smaller grow tent, but I can walk a bit into this one. We still have a lot of plants in there, and there is a grow light, so that kind of limits it, but I can actually walk into this one if I wanted to. And I'm less prone to tip things over because there is just more space for everything. Now that's enough about the grow tent for now. I think it's very clear that I'm very excited about this grow tent. And do I now want another one of the same size? Yes. Do I know where I would put it? No. Does it make me want it less? Also no. Let's talk about the light now. The shining beacon that will either help my plants grow or burn them to crisp if I overdo it. The light I picked is marshydro FC3000. It is a 300 watt light. Yes, you did hear me correctly. It is a 300 watt light that emits about, oh, I don't know, measly 53,000 lumens. We'll be proceeding this video without our eyeballs. Yes, the light is very strong, but worry not, it has a dimmer. I currently keep my light dimmed to about 20 to 25%, which is anywhere between 60 and 75 watts, I believe. That is about 1/5 or 1/4 of the original strength of the grow light, and so far my plants are growing nicely and none of them seem to be burning. Of course, it is still early days. They have only been in the tent for about 2 weeks, so we will continue to track and monitor them and see if they will burn or not, or if they will grow faster or not. This grow light has a photosynthetic photon efficacy of about 2.85 micromoles per joule, which just tells you how efficient the grow light is, and that measure of 2.85 is extremely good. Usually they are around 2.2 to 2.7 or 2.8, but also be warned that this is something that comes from the manufacturer, so take that information with a bit of salt or grain of salt, or don't eat salt. marshydro also provides you with ppfd map where they measured micromoles per square meter at different distances from the foliage, and because I keep my light at about 40 centimeters or 60 inches for my plant, I took a look at their map, and at full 100% we can see that it varies from 530 to just a bit over 1000 micromoles per square meter. But of course that is in 3x3 tent, which is around 90 by 90 centimeters at 100%. And that is quite a lot of light. That is the light that we do not need for our houseplants. So in my grow tent, which is 4x4 or 120 by 120 centimeters, and with my 25% on the dimmer, I get far less light. It still is very bright, especially to my eyes, and I can see that on the plants it is bright enough. Some of the plants have started to get a bit of that blush, a bit of that sun stress, and I'm here talking about my Hoyas. Now, all of you should know that these actual grow lights are not really designed with houseplants in mind. They are designed for growing vegetables indoors and other high light plants where yield is very important. We will call them that because we want to avoid that sweet demonetization on YouTube. But I think you all know what I'm talking about. I won't go much deeper into the grow lights and different aspects of a grow light. I'm much more interested in seeing real life results. If you do want to watch a great video on grow lights, you can check out the one that my bestie Betsy did. That's a sentence, bestie Betsy, on her channel, and I will link that video down below. For our houseplants, you do not need to run this light at 100%, unless total destruction is your objective, then feel free to do it. However, why this light is good is because physically it is a big light. If I were to put a smaller light or less powerful light, like the one that I had before, which is TS1000, and it is a 150 watt light, it would not really reach the corners of the grow tent. Yes, the center would get enough light, but really in the corners there wouldn't be much. So it's important from that regard to have light that is physically larger and that where LEDs are better spaced out so that the light can reach all corners of your growing space. With grow light manufacturers, the larger the light is, the more watts it has. That is very unfortunate for us plant people because we're not gonna be able to get 100% from that light. So that means that you will be paying for something that you will not use to the full potential. And it took me a very long time to come to terms with this, but I looked around everywhere and I could not find a light that would be most suitable for houseplants, and that is an actual grow light where PPFD is provided, where there are maps provided, and that is also affordable. So for example, something that is 60 by 60 centimeters, under 200 euros, that is around maybe 100 watts, and that can be dimmed. There isn't really a grow light like that out there, which, if any of these companies are listening, you need to make that grow light happen. It is also important to take cost under consideration here. This light costs about 340 euros in Europe, which does sound a lot, but if you compare it to some other lights that are similar size, with similar wattage, they can go up to 1,000 euros or more. So this is still considered entry level. And considering the coverage, it really isn't that bad because on the other side you have grow tubes that are marketed as grow lights, which may or may not be, that are maybe 30, 40 watts, or you have spotlights that are around 30 or 40 watts that are much smaller, they cover far less space, and they cost anywhere between 100 to 300 euros as well. It sucks, but it is our reality of people who grow houseplants inside. So this light may not be the most aesthetically pleasing, but for what it is very good. And also here you will be able to adjust the dimmer. So if for whatever reason you may need more light, more powerful light, you will be able to adjust that and go all the way to 300 watts. But I really do not see why you would need 300 watts for growing houseplants inside. Maybe it can be like a punishment chamber for the plants that are not growing well. Or I guess it could work for succulents. I never take those into consideration because I don't grow any anymore. So who is this light for? Well, I wouldn't recommend it if you are a windowsill grower, if you don't have that many plants. But if you're someone like me who has a lot of plants and you are working with only northwest facing windows or northeast or northern windows, then this light may be good for you, especially if you do not mind growing your plants in a grow tent. It doesn't have to be in a grow tent. I have been using my TS1000 outside of a grow tent with great results, but you will get the best results in the grow tent because of the reflective sides, and seeing the light outside of the tent can be a bit too much for your eyes. Honestly, it will blind me one morning. Maybe you have a dark room that you don't use, like some storage space, maybe it's a basement, maybe it's an attic, and you can put your tent there with your plants in there, and it could be your small jungle. I think it's obvious that by the look of how the plants are arranged and all the extra lights, I don't grow my plants purely for decorative purposes. I do love to look at them, and yes, they are a bit decorative, but I'm also more interested in growing them, learning about them, seeing, for example, how my Hoyas bloom, what are the differences, describing them, documenting what I learn, and obviously sharing that with you. Therefore, I do not really need to see all of my plants all day, every day. I do see quite a lot of them all day, every day. And I do still check my tent every day to make sure that everyone is doing well. But for me, it really doesn't matter that they are in the grow tent. And one added benefit is that I was able to remove 7 of these hardware store lights in exchange for that one grow light. And it is using actually less power because 2 of those were 36 watts. So combined, they were around 72 watts. And this one is about 65 to 75, depending how I dim it. So that is also a great rebalance in terms of electrical consumption. I wasn't joking before when I said I would like another grow tent. I really would, and I would put it right here. I was considering, but then you would not see this in the back of the video. Just to separate my aeroids from Hoyas, I would love that, especially because some of these aeroids, some of my plants in my Millsable cabinet that I will talk about in a next video, or in a future video, better say that, are going to outgrow that space. They will eventually outgrow the grow tent, but at least there you have a bit more space. I'm also interested to see how my Hoyas will grow in the tent. Will they grow faster? Will they bloom sooner? Will the raised temperature and added humidity affect them? Will they grow better? How will it affect my aeroids? Obviously, this light costs more than the regular hardware store light. But it does come with a warranty, it does last longer, and it is a higher quality light. There's no doubt about it. Sometimes my lights do make this humming sound that gets quite annoying. This one doesn't. And it actually doesn't heat up when it's around 20 to 25% when you dim it that low. Some of my hardware store lights are warmer to the touch than this one is, which is crazy to me. In terms of plants that I intend to grow inside, I have mostly Hoyas and aeroids, and you will see some of them in the B-roll of this video and in the future videos. I will not showcase them separately. Maybe I will do a monthly recap, which actually I would like to do with all of my plants inside and outside of the grow tent to see which one grew best, which one isn't doing so well, maybe if I have some new observations or whatever. I think it could be very interesting plant journal type of a video. But I'm not gonna promise anything, we will just see how it goes. Maybe it's a terrible idea, maybe it's a good idea. I don't know. Also, one inevitable thing is that the plants will not be able to stay in the grow tent forever. So over time, some of them will probably move out and some of them will get larger. So, you know, it is all test and trial. We will see how things go. Okay, that is all for today. I do have more thoughts that I would like to share, but I would also like to avoid those blah, 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 blah type of comments. You know, there is too much talking in this video. I get it. I know. I edit them. Who do you think has to sit through hours of footage and chop things down? It ain't a fairy. Well, it depends how you look on that. If you like the video, I would appreciate it if you would give it a thumbs up, and since you're already there, let me just tell you I do not mind people subscribing to the channel. Also, I would love to hear your thoughts and your opinions. Would you ever consider growing plants in a grow tent, and do you perhaps already have one? Did you fall in love with your grow tent the way I did? Fall in love is maybe a bit too much. Let's just keep our emotions down a bit. I hope you're having a wonderful weekend, and I will see you very soon in the next video, which may be sooner than you think, which again may be or may not be a good thing. May the Hoyas be with you. Goodbye. Dramatic movements. I would like to take some time to thank my patrons. A massive shout out to my $5 patrons. One anonymous patron, Betsy Begonia, Bonnie Harris, Carrie, Cynthia Taylor, Danuke Daniels, Estelle Farah, Houseplant Heather, Hoyas and Whatnots, Kelso, Kristen Sherwood, Mars B, Martina, Alif Perday, Melissa Walker, Nicole Ferranti, Nicole Schlief, PJ, Rachel Colette Conroy, Robin L. Jennings, Stephanie H2O, Spinach Geek, Tanya, TJWO, Vicky Dingler, Vojta Takac, and Slokov Niponi. Also, a big thank you to my $3 patrons. Angelina Farnan, April Arroyo, Brianna Phillips, Catherine G, Claudia L, Jerry's Garden, Lisa Helling, Lori Murphy, Morgan Kennedy, Nerdy Kathy, Nikki Ringlov, and Ruby. And a thank you to my $1 patrons, Caroline, Lauren Monreal, Ran Lambert, and Tang Watanas Riakul. Thank you all so much for your wonderful support. I hope you had a wonderful new year, and I guess welcome to 2022. I feel this is like a take 3. Let's hope for a good one. Have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you soon.